we are very, very rapidly approaching Halloween, and I am really, really excited about it. I didn't get to do much for Halloween last year because I was feeling terrible, but this year I'm feeling much, much better, so I'm excited to do all of the fun Halloween things, including carving a pumpkin, and I actually have a little sort of DIY-ish costume as well that I will show you on October 31st, which is also going to be a part of this vlog. And this vlog is actually going to cover the Halloween weekend, so October 29th to October 31st. I'm actually filming the introduction a few days earlier, just because I want to have everything ready to go for when I'm starting. And this vlog is going to be on the Weekend Ween readathon, which is a spooky Halloween-themed readathon for Halloween weekend, so it fits perfectly. So let me just tell you a little bit about the prompts, and I will have the creator's original video linked in the description box down below in case you're curious and want to check that out. And prompt number 1 is to read a book with a green cover to match a forest. Since the readathon is kind of a camp-themed readathon, it's actually called Camp Weekend Ween. Prompt number 2 is to read a book with a group of teens as the main characters. Prompt number 3 is to read a slasher, thriller, or horror. And prompt number 4 is to read a book with a camp setting. Now, since this is only a weekend-long readathon, you're actually allowed to combine all of these prompts into one book, or rather read a book that combines all of these prompts, or you can only choose one prompt and read a book for that. But I'm actually going to try to read a book for each prompt, except 3 of these books are going to be graphic novels, because there's absolutely no way that my reading speed will allow me to read 4 long novels during a weekend, so it is going to be 1 long novel and probably 3 graphic novels, which are fairly short to read. And for the green cover, camp setting, and group of teens prompts, I'm going to be reading Lumberjanes volumes 7 through 9, which are those graphic novels that I was talking about. And for the horror slash thriller slash slasher, I'm going to be reading a horror, and it is going to be Small Favors. Now, when I first saw this book and I saw the cover, which by the way is gorgeous, I adore the cover of that book, I really did not expect it to be a horror. I didn't really know what this book was about, I just heard good things about it, and I was really, really surprised to see it classified as a horror, because from the cover you wouldn't really be able to tell. Although, I guess I don't really read a lot of horror, so maybe I'm just not versed with modern horror books. So maybe I just don't really know what modern horror book covers look like. But for me it doesn't look like a horror. But it is, and I don't really know much about it except that it has something to do with bees and honey, because, well, that's what the cover features very, very prominently. And I'm really, really excited to read it because, well, as I said, I don't read a lot of horror, so I want to kind of diversify for Halloween and get into the spooky mood. And that is everything I have to say for now, and I will see you again on October 29th, when I'm actually going to be starting reading all of these things. Hello again. It is day 1 of the readathon, and I've actually started my first book, which is Small Favors. And I'm only about 10% into the book, and it's already actually creepy. I mean, I don't really read a lot of horror because I'm kind of a lightweight when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I do get creeped out really easily, so maybe other people would find it creepy, but I'm actually already seriously creeped out, which at the moment I'm really enjoying, but I hope it doesn't get too much creepier, because then I'm not sure that I'll be able to handle it all that well, so we will see. But I really think that the author's writing is so beautiful, and I'm loving it so far. I love the setting, which definitely has very creepy vibes. I love that it has a fantasy element, which I really adore fantasy. It is my favorite genre, so far I'm loving it, and I am very much creeped out, so I think that it is doing its job as a horror novel. I am definitely going to keep reading this today, and I think I might also read Lumberjanes, but I'm not sure. We'll see. I will probably update you again later today, because I definitely do plan to keep reading. And other than that, I'm just going to be taking a nice fall walk and enjoying the fall weather and getting some work done. So some relaxing activities and some less relaxing but necessary activities. And I'll see you in a little bit, or maybe in a slightly longer bit. We'll see. It is a little bit later the same day, and I definitely have things to update you on. I've read some more of Small Favors, and I think I'm about 30% of the way into the book now, if I'm not mistaken. So far, I really love it. It's actually amazing. The writing is gorgeous. I love the fantasy elements. I love the creepiness. I really like the characters, in the sense that some of them I like because they're pretty decent, and some of them I like because they're just very, very not nice. Yeah, I love the book, and I really like the author's writing. I think it's beautiful, but it doesn't kind of veer towards purple prose, which I'm not super into. The pacing is actually really good, and the plot is progressing rather nicely, with downtime interspersed with kind of creepiness and some action, so I really enjoyed that aspect. And you can really tell that the story is just beginning, and I'm really, really excited to see where it goes and how everything unravels, because it already drew me in so much. Another thing that's actually really interesting about the book is that most of the characters, including the main character, all feel a little bit off, and sometimes you can't really place your finger on what's wrong with them, but they all feel like they could be involved in this kind of horribleness. And I'm really curious to see which of them actually are, if any. I think the author did a really good job on this, and it definitely adds to the creepy atmosphere. Also, it's really interesting, but this is set in a very isolated town, and I don't think I've ever told you what this book is supposed to be about. Probably because I didn't know myself, but now I sort of have an idea, so I can tell you. So we have a story set in this really isolated town, and it's surrounded by these woods and mountains, and they're apparently creatures that live in the woods, although these creatures haven't really bothered anyone for a long time, so most of the townspeople no longer really believe in them. But our book starts with an event that kind of makes you question that disbelief, and a lot of townspeople are starting to kind of feel that maybe things are not good and maybe the creatures are in fact returning. So we're off to a great start there, and since the town is so very, very isolated, they depend very heavily on supplies that they get from the larger city. And they have to get these supplies numerous times a year, but the fact that these creatures in the woods are now in immediate danger makes it very, very difficult to do so. So that is kind of where we're at. Also, just creepy small things start happening to different people. Like, somebody says that they saw some scary monster with silver eyes. Somebody else had something happening with their livestock, and creepy things like that. And these aren't really spoilers because you find them out very, very quickly in the beginning of the book. So the problem is that these townspeople have to survive the winter somehow, and for that they need supplies. And for that they need to venture into the woods, which is a very big problem at the moment. Also, it seems like things out of the woods are actually starting to come into the town, which is an even bigger issue. Also, it's really interesting. I don't really know what time period it's set in, because at first, just by what the town has available, I thought it was in the 1500s or so. But then they mentioned something that makes me think it might be 1850 or maybe even 1900s, considering how isolated the town is from everything else. So yeah, I have no idea what time period it's in. If you do actually know what time period this is set in, please mention it in a comment down below, because I'm actually really curious. And the final thing I have to update you on for today is that I actually read Lumberjanes Volume 7. So technically that covers 3 prompts, which is the teen prompt, the camp prompt, and the green book prompt. And unfortunately, I actually gave this graphic novel only 3 stars, and I'm not sure if I already mentioned this in this vlog, but Lumberjanes is actually a series of middle grade fantasy graphic novels, and I really, really loved the first few books, and then they kind of started going downhill, and I feel like that unfortunate progression actually continues. So I'm not sure if I'm recommending it. If anything, I do recommend the first 2 volumes because they're just really sweet and adorable, and they more or less have a contained storyline inside them, so you can just read those 2. There is some, like, bigger plot going on, but I just finished book 7 and we still haven't really made any progress towards that plotline, so I'm not sure if it's going to be resolved at all during this series, or if I even really care about it at this point. I'm still going to read the next book, but I'm not really that excited about it. and I really feel like if it doesn't get better soon, I'm going to be stopping this series. I think I say this in every vlog, but I really want to give it a proper chance because I really enjoyed the first few volumes. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Lumberjanes Volume 7, which I also didn't really like and gave it 3 stars. So it wasn't terrible, but it's a very generous 3-star rating, just keep that in mind. It was a little bit better than the few volumes before it though, and it was a little funnier and a little sweeter, and the plot was a little bit more fun. So I'm not gonna say that I'm hopeful, but I'm still gonna read the next volume and see what happens, and possibly volume 9 as well. And that, I think, is probably it for my updates for today. I'm definitely going to keep reading Small Favors, and I will update you when I get more of that done. Probably tomorrow. Hello again! It is the next day, and I have a reading update for you. I read quite a bit more of Small Favors, actually, and I'm still really enjoying it. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to finish it this weekend, just at the rate that I'm going, and not even because I'm doing this vlog and this readathon, but just because I actually really want to keep going, and I'm really curious to see how it ends. I don't actually want to stop reading. Currently, I'm about 40% of the way into Small Favors, and I have to say, I really despise one of the characters. I'm not going to tell you which one because that would be a spoiler, but the author really wrote one of the characters in a very negative way, and I'm here for it, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy it when one of the characters in a book is a very despicable character, as long as it's not the main character. I don't really enjoy reading a book where the protagonist is super despicable. Usually. Sometimes I do. I guess I don't really know what I want is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, let's proceed with the book. So, yeah, I really dislike one of the characters, which definitely adds a little bit of spice into the book. Unfortunately, I do feel a migraine coming on, so that's kind of bad news for me, but good news for my reading, because that's pretty much the only thing that I can do other than, like, watch series or movies when I have a migraine. So what I'm trying to say is that today I'm actually going to do a bunch more reading, and I will update you when I get through. Well, when I do get some more reading done. It's definitely quite a bit later the same day, and I'm about 75% of the way into Small Favors. Sorry if you just heard my stomach grumbling. I didn't quite reach peak migraine status. I think I'm just at the level of a really bad headache for now, but I can just feel it heading there slowly, like a thundercloud looming over me. Having said that, I'm still very much enjoying the book, and I think the fact that I took a walk earlier actually helped me to kind of slow down my migraine progression, because fresh air always helps me. I don't know about you. By the way, do you have any tips for when you feel a migraine approaching and you kind of want to prevent it or at least make it less severe? If you do, can you please put them in the comments down below? I'm really, really curious. For me, something else that helps, and I know that this kind of goes into the range of naturopathic remedies and a lot of people don't believe in it, but I actually use tiger balm and I put some on my forehead and it burns a lot, and something about that just kind of helps tone down the migraine a little bit. And it's not the most pleasant sensation, but when I have a migraine, I don't really care about the burning that much or about the redness or irritation that it causes on my skin, because the migraine just bothers me a lot more. Yeah, so that's something that helps, as well as ice, in case you're curious. And as I said, if you have any tips for me or for anyone else watching this, then please leave them in the comments down below. Right, let's move on to the book. I got a bit more reading done, and I'm now about 75% of the way into Small Favors. I'm definitely still enjoying the book, but not as much as I was before, because I definitely slowed down substantially, and I don't really like that. I don't think that there was a need for it to slow down, so I think that there's a bit of a pacing issue there. Other than that, another thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is that I'm just starting to kind of dislike some of the other characters, and I understand that that is kind of a part of the book, but it also makes me enjoy the book less when I don't really like the characters as much. Just because, well, this is just my personal preference. I prefer to read books where I at least somewhat like the characters that I'm reading about. Not all of them. I do like it when a few characters are super despicable, or at least somewhat unlikable, but I do like to have some characters that I can kind of root for. So yeah, that is kind of upsetting me about this book a little bit, but I'm still having fun, and I think that the writing is still very lovely. And I'm still curious to see where it's gonna go. Although, I think I'm starting to see where it's gonna go, but I'm curious to see if I'm right. I feel like it's definitely becoming a little bit less creepy as well, although it is still quite creepy, and I'm definitely going to need something much lighter after this book. Was that a bird? Ooh, I think that was a bird. Anyways, I really like animals, so I'm very much distracted by them, and I'm kind of filming in front of the window just to get some natural light, so yeah, I just periodically get distracted by an animal if there's something going on. So, sorry about that. What was I saying? Right, yeah, I'm enjoying it a bit less, but I'm still having fun, and I know for sure that I'm going to finish it this weekend. And that is my little update for today. I think I'm going to keep reading, or actually maybe I'm gonna watch something. I'm a little bit tired of reading and I don't have that much left. So I might just finish it tomorrow, or tonight. We'll see. But I'm probably not going to update you again today just because my headache is becoming way, way worse, and I don't really wanna just kind of sit there and talk to you in a very, very miserable state and just... Nobody's gonna want to see that. So I will talk to you tomorrow and update you then. Hello again! It is the next day, and this is actually not the DIY costume I had in mind. That one was going to be quite a bit more involved, but I did not get an item that I ordered in time. I think it's coming like a few days from now, which is kind of very, very disappointing, but that means that that DIY costume fell through, so I had to improvise, and I had these devil horns from last year when I wore them with just a red dress, just to kind of feel a little bit more dressed up for Halloween than just wearing a plain outfit. And it's good that I had them because I'm going to use them this year with this red sweater. And that is going to be my costume for handing out candy, of which I have 2 boxes actually, so we're gonna see how that is going to go. And I actually did some more reading done yesterday and a little bit more today, and I'm definitely done with the readathon because I'm not going to be doing any more reading today. I'm just going to kind of have fun, carve a pumpkin with my significant other, and enjoy Halloween. And I am feeling better, although I do still have a little bit of a headache, so I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep this on, since it's kind of pressing on my head. But I thought for the video, and definitely for handing out candy, I will have my little devil horns on to feel all festive and Halloweeny. So let's move on to my thoughts on Small Favors. And it actually got quite a bit less creepy at the end, but I feel like that might happen to a lot of horror books, because once you kind of find out what's going on, things become less creepy. I feel like it's the fear of the unknown that makes things a lot creepier. So there was that, but I was expecting it, and it definitely didn't ruin my enjoyment of the book in any way. Also, if you remember, I said that I kind of had some ideas about where the plot was going, and actually a few of the thoughts I had from the very beginning of the book panned out and were in fact correct. But I'm not going to tell you what they are. It was just kind of fun for me. So yeah, that was interesting, and I did actually really enjoy the book. I think I'm going to give it 5 stars, which is a bit of a generous rating, but I feel like it kind of deserved it just because I really had fun with it. It definitely wasn't a perfect book, and if I was being like really accurate, probably I would have given it like 4 stars, but I think it definitely deserves 5 when I compare it to the rest of the books that I read in general, so 5 it is. The one thing that I actually didn't like about this book was that the ending felt a little bit too convenient for our main character. And again, I can't really tell you why it felt too convenient, but that was my feeling about it. And that was why the book didn't really end on such a high note for me. But I still think that it is a really, really nice book, and the writing is actually very lovely, with very few points when I kind of felt like it went a little overboard, or I just didn't like the sentence structure or something like that. There was that problem with the pacing in the middle, but it did resolve itself in the end, and there was definitely a lot going on during the last portion of the book. So it was overall a really enjoyable and good read, and I actually highly recommend it if you like spooky books. And that completes my read for the prompt to read a slasher, horror, or thriller, because this was definitely a horror book. And after all of that horror, I needed to read something nice and cute and sweet, so I read another volume of Lumberjanes. And this was volume 8, and this was actually a bit of an improvement over the previous volumes, I think. I can't remember what I rated the volume before that, but this one was 3.25 stars. And it was sweet and it was cute, and there was definitely a bit of humor there, so I think I might continue this series and hope that it improves. Plus, I'm vaguely curious how it all wraps up, and it gives me kind of a nice break from my longer novels, so it's not as good as it was in the beginning, but I feel like it's good enough for me to continue with it. I'm still not sure if I would recommend it, just because quite a few of the volumes were kind of a slog, and I didn't really enjoy them, but they're still pretty good for younger audiences, I think. So if you're looking for any recommendations for a kind of middle grade or younger, then I think that it's actually a pretty good series. And I was definitely in the mood for something like cute and sweet after the horror book, so this really fit the bill. And that is actually going to be it for my reading for today, just because I do just want to enjoy the rest of the day and kind of spend Halloween doing Halloween-themed things other than reading. So I am going to use this Lumberjanes book for 2 of the prompts. And since you can pretty much combine all of the prompts into one book, then I think that it's fine. And I still consider this readathon completed. So the prompts that I'm actually going to combine for this book are going to be read a book with a group of teens as the main characters, and to read a book with a camp setting. And this book definitely has both, so it works. And that is pretty much it for this vlog. I'll probably insert a few clips of just how the pumpkin came out and things like that, but I don't think that I'll actually be filming any more updates where I kind of chat with you. So yeah, that was it. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you had an amazing Halloween weekend and a wonderful Halloween. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Be you, always. Bye!